Genie? Genie, it's all right. You can come out.
Are you sure you are not angry with me, Master?
Millionaires don't get angry, Genie.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. But I was only trying
to be helpful. Yeah.
Yes, Master.
Remember when sitcom magic didn't need CGI? Just a puff of smoke, a blink, and a genie who called an astronaut master? That was I Dream of Jeannie, the 1965 NBC comedy starring Barbara Eden as Genie, Larry Hagman as astronaut Major Tony Nelson, Bill Daly as loyal buddy Roger Healy, and Hayden Rourke as the ever-suspicious Dr. Bellows. For 5 seasons and 139 episodes, the show mixed fantasy, slapstick, and a whole lot of romantic tension as Tony tried and failed to keep Genie's powers under wraps. Today, we're counting down 15 of the weirdest, wildest facts about I Dream of Jeannie. Now, before we dive in, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss our deep dives into retro TV. Now, let's get into the countdown with number 15. Genie's bottle was a booze decanter. One of TV's most iconic props didn't come from Hollywood magic, it came from the liquor aisle. Genie's bottle began life in 1964 as a Jim Beam whiskey decanter, repurposed for prime time with a little paint and a whole lot of imagination. For season 1, the prop team took the smoky green glass and decorated it in black and gold to pop on black and white TVs.
Thou deceived me.
When the show made the leap to color in season 2, the bottle got a full makeover. Out came the bold purples and golds we remember, paired perfectly with Barbara Eden's newly colorful harem costume. The stoppers had their own saga. In the pilot, the bottle Tony found was capped with a borrowed cork from an old granddad bourbon bottle. Part of the show's lore after the original stopper was reportedly lost on the beach. Over time, stunt bottles may have used similar replacements, but apparently prop departments in the 1960s had the record-keeping skills of a college dorm room. When the bottle went Technicolor, the art department built a fresh stopper to match the new look. As for where those props ended up, one of the original season 1 bottles from the estate of director Gene Nelson sold at auction in 2017 for over $30,000, and in 2024, Barbara Eden donated a later series Genie bottle along with her costume to the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History, officially bottling up a piece of TV magic for generations to come. From bourbon decanter to television treasure, now that's what we call proof of concept. Number 14. Barbara Eden filmed season 1 while pregnant. Talk about timing. The very day NBC gave I Dream of Jeannie the green light, Barbara Eden had news of her own. She was pregnant. She even told Sidney Sheldon she'd have to take time off. Instead of hunting for a new Genie, the producers decided to work around it. That meant costumes kept getting bigger and veils kept multiplying. Eden later joked she looked like a walking tent. Directors shot her from the waist up or stuck her behind couches and potted plants like she was playing sitcom hide and seek. The most ridiculous moment came when her friend, director Gene Nelson, asked her to throw on a bikini for a scene. She broke the news that she was pregnant. When she showed him the suit in her dressing room, his reaction was immediate, "Uh-oh, oh I see what you mean." The quick fix? They literally strapped a tire around her belly and threw towels over it to make the bump less noticeable. Talk about your low-tech special effects. And remember, this was the mid-1960s. TV was still squeamish about pregnancy. I Love Lucy turned Lucille Ball's pregnancy into comedy gold, but most shows just made women disappear or hide behind furniture for 9 months. Eden's son Matthew was born in August of 1965 during a production break, and when the show came back, she was right back in the bottle like nothing ever happened. So, while viewers were busy watching Major Nelson try to hide a genie from NASA, Eden and the crew were pulling off an even trickier vanishing act, making a baby bump disappear with nothing but creative camera work and a spare tire. Number 13. Genie and Major Nelson reunited on Dallas. 25 years after Genie first popped out of her bottle, Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman reunited on primetime, but this time, instead of romantic tension, they were serving up pure venom. Eden joined Dallas as Leanne de la Vega, a vengeful former lover of J.R. Ewing, and this time she wasn't granting wishes, she was out for blood.
I hope you really don't mind. I just didn't want this to get stuffy right off the bat.
Oh, no, it's fine. I'd like to thank you for the excellent offer you made for my company.
Oh, I told my attorneys to give you my best price. Haggling is not my style.
The mastermind behind it? Hagman himself. In his autobiography, he admitted he personally convinced Eden to do the show, knowing fans would eat up the reunion.
It's Bobby's company in name only. Ewing Oil belongs to me, heart and soul.
It's like your baby, isn't it?
It's the most important thing in the world to me.
I do feel badly for you.
They met for lunch, she agreed, and suddenly the TV couple America adored was back together, only now their love story had curdled into a soap opera feud. Leanne de la Vega wasn't just angry, she plotted the ultimate payback, scheming to swindle JR out of a fortune. For viewers who remembered her as the sweet, doting Genie, the irony was delicious. Once upon a time, she worked overtime to make Major Nelson happy. On Dallas, Leanne used the same charm and wit to dismantle JR's life piece by piece. The cleverest wink? Leanne's maiden name was Nelson, a sly Easter egg that reminded everyone of their sitcom roots, even as the tone flipped from fluffy fantasy to backstabbing drama. The storyline had fans buzzing and entertainment reporters scrambling for interviews, proof that some TV magic never fades even when it's weaponized. For fans, it was surreal, a full-circle moment where the TV couple who once built a relationship on secrecy were now defined by open hostility and betrayal. Even decades later, Eden and Hagman still had the magic, just not the kind that came with a puff of smoke and a bottle. Number 12, the famous theme song didn't arrive until season 2. Everyone knows the I Dream of Jeannie theme, right? That bouncy little earworm that instantly screams 1960s sitcom magic? Except, surprise, it wasn't there in season 1. The first season had a jazz waltz by Richard West and a narrator spelling out Tony's space mission and how Genie wound up in that bottle, like we needed a bedtime story before the comedy started.
Once upon a time, in a mythical place called Cape Kennedy, an astronaut named Tony Nelson went up on a space mission. The missile went up, but something went wrong and they had to bring it down. Captain Nelson landed on an island in the South Pacific where he found a bottle. At least it looked like a bottle, but it didn't act like a bottle.
Sidney Sheldon reportedly hated it. He thought it was bland, more cocktail lounge than sitcom sparkle. And here's the wild part. Early in development, pop icons Gary Goffin and Carole King actually wrote a theme song called Genie and submitted it to Sheldon. Imagine the show being introduced by the duo behind The Locomotion. Totally different vibe. But Sheldon passed and we got stuck with that sleepy jazz number instead. When NBC finally paid up for color in season 2, Sheldon seized the moment to rebrand everything. Enter Hugo Montenegro's jaunty theme paired with a brand new animated intro from Looney Tunes legend Friz Freleng. Now, the show had energy, personality, and an identity all its own. And yes, even the theme we know had lyrics. Buddy Kaye wrote verses about Genie's powers and Tony's love life, but the producers wisely scrapped them because the wordless bounce worked way better. Without that second season rebrand, the show might have faded into TV's graveyard of forgotten 60s sitcoms. Sometimes the right theme song doesn't just complement a show, it saves it. Number 11, say what now? So how did the star of I Dream of Jeannie find out his show was canceled? Not from a producer, not from an agent, not even from a phone call. No, Larry Hagman got the news from a guy at the studio gate.
Came back, and I wanted to get something from my dressing room, the studio. And I drove down there and going through the gate, and I said, "Hi, Bill, how you doing?" He says, "Mr. Hagman, can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just going to check in my dressing room." He said, "You haven't heard?" I said, "No, I haven't heard what?" And he says, "The show's been canceled." And that's the first time I had heard about it, from the guy at the gate.
That was it. That's how Major Nelson got his walking papers, via security. Now, Hagman wasn't entirely shocked. By then, he admitted he thought the show had run its course. He hated the forced wedding in the final season, calling it the death knell that killed the romantic tension. On top of that, he was frustrated with the way his character was written and drank heavily, which only made things worse on set. In some ways, the guard was just the exclamation point on problems that had been building for years. But the timing also said a lot about television in 1970. NBC wasn't just canceling Genie, they were clearing out a whole crop of high-concept 60s comedies. America was ready to trade Genies for social commentary, and the era of escapist sitcoms was giving way to All in the Family, Mary Tyler Moore, and the more socially conscious TV of the 70s. If this happened today, Hagman would have had agents calling, publicists spinning, and a press release on Variety. Back then, you just showed up at the gate and a security guard shrugged saying, "Sorry, pal. Welcome to Hollywood." Number 10. The infamous no navel rule. Only in the 1970s could a belly button spark a national scandal. NBC's censors famously banned Barbara Eden from showing hers, turning Genie's harem costume into ground zero for TV morality. It started as a joke. Columnist Mike Connolly asked if Genie even had a navel, and NBC panicked, issuing the now legendary no navel edict. The result? Millions of dollars in free publicity. Tabloids and late-night comics ran wild with it, and suddenly Barbara Eden's midriff was one of the most talked-about body parts in America. The fixes were almost as funny as the rule itself. Costumers hiked the waistband higher and higher, or layered on sequins to block the view. In some shots, sheer fabric was draped just so to keep her midsection covered. The pantaloons even had to be shadowed so you couldn't see too much leg. By Eden's own account, there were full-on studio meetings about her belly button, like it was a threat to national security or something. The hypocrisy was impossible to miss. In the season 3 episode Genie Goes to Honolulu, Eden was stuck in a one-piece swimsuit while background extras wore bikinis with navels on full display.
A funny thing happened on the way to the North Pole.
And my ears fell off.
Well, I can explain that. You see, Genie, what do you think you're doing?
Fans definitely noticed. To make it worse, other actresses on the show, including Dr. Bellows' wife, were allowed to show theirs without issue. The navel ban was just part of NBC's broader moral crusade. Genie and Tony couldn't share a bedroom, and even kissing was kept tame. Eden now laughs about the whole thing, joking about how seriously the network treated her navel, while she just tried to keep a straight face in those meetings. It may have been ridiculous, but the no navel rule turned Genie into a cultural lightning rod. Sometimes the best publicity is the kind you never meant to create. Number 9. The wedding that ruined the show. By season 5, NBC was desperate for a ratings stunt. Their big idea? Marry off Tony and Genie.
There's a photographer taking pictures.
Oh, how nice.
Because apparently nothing revitalizes a show quite like eliminating the central premise that made it all work. Creator Sidney Sheldon fought it, but NBC executive Mort Werner pushed hard. He pointed to Get Smart, where the marriage of Max and 99 had boosted ratings. Facing cancellation, Sheldon gave in, and in 1970, America tuned in to watch Major Nelson say "I do." It was a disaster. The entire show had been built on will they or won't they tension, the secret keeping, the magical chaos Genie unleashed while Tony scrambled to save his Air Force career. Once they were married, the danger and tension evaporated, replaced by domestic squabbles about whether to use magic for household chores. Barbara Eden later admitted the marriage broke credibility because, as she put it, how do you sustain a relationship when one partner isn't even human? Fans agreed. Even worse, the wedding created a massive continuity hole. In the 1967 episode The Birds and the Bees bit, Genie explained that if a genie married a mortal, she'd lose her powers. That's why Tony backed off proposing. Cut to the wedding episode, Genie marries Tony, keeps her powers, and the writers hand wave it with, "Oh, guess the relatives lied." Smooth. NBC went all in on promotion, staging a media circus at Patrick Air Force Base in Florida, complete with press, celebrities, and even the state's governor attending. They treated it like TV's royal wedding, hoping to save the show with spectacle. Instead, the wedding marked the beginning of the end. Ratings dropped throughout season 5, and the show was canceled soon after, proving that sometimes the biggest television events make for the smallest television. Number 8. Hagman's drinking nearly got him replaced. On TV, Major Nelson was the clean-cut astronaut trying to keep a genie under control. Off camera, Larry Hagman was the one nobody could control. By his own admission and confirmed by Barbara Eden, he drank heavily during I Dream of Jeannie's run. That wasn't just a private problem. The booze-fueled tantrums, wild pranks, and behavior that had producers seriously wondering if they could keep the show's leading man. Co-star Bill Daly called him a naughty boy, which is putting it lightly. Hagman showed up to set in a gorilla costume. He once took a fireman's axe to a noisy air conditioner and accidentally cut power to the whole stage. Director Gene Nelson swore that when Hagman got angry, he'd even, shall we say, relieve himself on set. Not exactly the wholesome sitcom energy NBC was selling. And the chaos wasn't just for laughs. Hagman was frustrated. He hated being the straight man while Barbara Eden got all the attention, and he thought the writers cared more about Jeannie's magic than Tony's reactions. That resentment bled into his on-set behavior. Producers got so fed up they sketched out a plan to replace him with Darren McGavin. Yeah, the old man from A Christmas Story. A whole storyline was outlined where Genie would move on from Tony, but Barbara Eden shut it down. She told the producers, "I think it would be foolish to switch him in the middle of the show." Her loyalty saved Hagman's job. Hagman later admitted he thought the axe incident would end his career and even thanked Eden for keeping him employed. The irony? On Genie, he was the guy trying and failing to control the chaos. On Dallas, he became J.R. Ewing, the man who controlled everything.
I'm sorry, darling. I didn't mean to worry you.
What happened? What did Bobby say?
Bobby sold the company. And to a woman. I just can't believe he'd really do it.
Are you loving these weird Genie stories? Well, help us keep the magic alive. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite fact so far, and share this video with a fellow classic TV fan. Alright, let's get back to it with number 7, the rewritten origin story. If you only watched season 1 of I Dream of Jeannie, you learned Genie wasn't born magical at all.
Wonderful of you, Genie, but I gotta get my gear. Come on, let's go. Oh, boy, wait till I get you back to the base.
Oh, I'll travel anywhere with thee, Master.
Sure. Oh, wait till General Stone sees you.
She was a mortal woman, cursed into geniehood by the sinister Blue Djinn.
You got a different bottle for your anniversary? Come on out of there.
You're not Genie.
I am the Blue Djinn.
You mean there's more than one of you?
It gave her a tragic edge. Once human, now doomed to live in a bottle. By season 3, forget all that. Suddenly, Genie had always been a genie. Her parents, genies. Her sister, a genie.
Look into the crystal ball.
Basically, her whole family tree sparkled with smoke effects. The tragic curse angle was gone, replaced by a parade of wacky genie relatives showing up to cause chaos. The biggest contradiction? In the first season, Genie reminisced about her peasant parents from the old country. By later seasons, those peasants had morphed into powerful genies, including her mischievous mother, who, fun twist, was also played by Barbara Eden. And about that Blue Djinn, he popped up in the season 2 opener Happy Anniversary in 1966, played by Michael Ansara, who just happened to be Barbara Eden's real-life husband. Imagine filming a scene with your evil, all-powerful captor, who is actually your spouse, then going home together for dinner. So, why the rewrite? Rivalry. Bewitched was crushing it with Samantha's magical family of witches and warlocks, and the producers wanted Genie to have the same storytelling flexibility. More relatives meant more magical hijinks and less explaining backstory every week. The irony is in the 1985 reunion movie I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later, they leaned back toward the original curse idea. Genie tells her son she was put in the bottle by a djinn she refused to marry. Even decades later, the writers knew the tragic cursed human angle had more punch than Genie family sitcom. It made things simpler for the weekly plots, sure, but it also proved a classic sitcom truth. When the magic works, don't overthink the lore. Number 6, Hagman said nope. For most fans, Genie and Major Nelson were a package deal, so when NBC dusted off the franchise for reunion movies in the 80s and 90s, you'd expect both stars to show up. But Larry Hagman? Nowhere in sight. The first film, I Dream of Jeannie 15 years later in 1985, had Barbara Eden back in the costume.
Mandi igush de firmam atu asarana.
Bill Daly back as Roger Healy and Wayne Rogers from MASH drafted in to play Tony. Some fans weren't buying it. Okay, it was me, I'm some fans. Genie with any other than Hagman just felt off. Anyway, by then, Hagman had bigger fish to fry, or deeper oil wells to drill if you want to put it that way. He was J.R. Ewing on Dallas, the most hated man in primetime, and he wasn't just starring, he was producing and directing.
Something that'll bring her walls tumbling down. And as an added bonus, I get my old friend Barnes as well.
Well, then I think it is definitely time to celebrate.
Reportedly, the reunion was shot over the summer, which happened to be his only downtime, and he flat out told Eden he wasn't giving that up. She later said she understood. Dallas was a global juggernaut, and frankly, the paycheck was very different from a made-for-TV nostalgia flick. The second movie, I Still Dream of Jeannie in 1991, got cheeky about it. Tony was on a space mission, and the villain was played by Ken Kercheval, aka Cliff Barnes, JR's sworn enemy on Dallas. A funny inside joke, sure, but the magic just wasn't there without Hagman. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Eden leaned into her Genie legacy, happily doing the reunions, conventions, and anniversary specials. Hagman left the bottle corked, choosing JR over Tony every time. For fans, the reunion movies were a bittersweet reminder. Barbara Eden still believed, but Major Nelson had already moved on to South Fork. Number 5. Barbara Eden got the job thanks to another Genie movie. Barbara Eden didn't just fall into Genie's bottle, she practically came pre-qualified. In 1964, she starred in The Brass Bottle, playing Sylvia Keaton, a fiancé whose life gets turned upside down when her guy accidentally frees a genie. Sound familiar?
What are you doing here? What are you dressed up for? Hey!
When Sidney Sheldon saw the film, he thought so too. Watching Eden handle magical mayhem with just the right mix of charm and exasperation, he realized she could flip the script and be the Genie this time. Here's the kicker, Eden wasn't even supposed to be in the running. Sheldon was obsessed with finding a brunette. He auditioned what he called every beautiful brunette in town because the last thing the producers wanted was another blonde magical woman competing with Bewitched. Samantha Stevens already had that territory kinda locked down, but brunette after brunette fizzled. Eventually, Sheldon circled back to Eden for an audition. Blonde, mischievous, funny, and she'd already proven in The Brass Bottle that she could sell the mix of fantasy and comedy that the show needed. When her agent told her she got the role, Eden was stunned. Knowing Sheldon's brunette fixation, she asked, "Do they know what I look like?" The timing worked out too. Season 1 was filmed in black and white, so her blonde hair didn't scream Bewitched knockoff. By the time Genie switched to color in Season 2, Eden was already cemented as Genie and nobody cared about hair color anymore. So after auditioning every brunette Hollywood could throw at him, Sheldon ended up hiring a blonde whose Genie performance made TV history. Sometimes the rules don't matter. The right actor just does. Number 4, Genie got her own cartoon, with Mark Hamill. By the early 70s, I Dream of Jeannie had ended its original run, but reruns were everywhere, and in television math, reruns plus kids equals cartoon. So in 1973, Hanna-Barbera decided to give Genie the Saturday morning treatment. The result? A show that had almost nothing to do with I Dream of Jeannie, except technically for the Genie part.
How was that?
Very good for a first attempt, but since we are in a hurry, I had better help you.
I knew I could do it.
First, they ditched Barbara Eden and turned Genie into a redheaded 16-year-old voiced by Julie McWhirter, because Saturday morning execs decided teenage genies were more marketable than grown women. Genie's new master was Corey Anders, a teenage surfer from California voiced by Mark Hamill before he became Luke Skywalker. Oh, and fun fact, Mark Hamill actually also sang the theme song.
Hot dogging it up, riding high on a curl. Not thinking about I'd be meeting a girl.
I'll let you decide how that went. Anyway, the show also added Babu, Genie's bumbling apprentice Genie, voiced by Joe Besser. Yes, one of the Three Stooges. Boo was supposedly learning magic, but his spells backfired so often that he made Orko look like Gandalf.
See, I've been studying the Genie handbook.
Have you learned anything?
You bet. I've learned how to walk through walls. Watch this. A doody-doo-doo, a doody-doo-dee, yapple-dapple.
Basically, the cartoon changed everything about the original show except the concept of a genie in a bottle. Each episode followed the same basic formula. Corey gets into some teenage predicament. Genie tries to help with magic and accidentally makes everything worse, and somehow they all learn a valuable lesson about friendship or honesty or doing the right thing. What made this show different was the complete tonal shift from the original. I Dream of Jeannie had adult themes, workplace comedy, and romantic tension. The cartoon had teenage problems and sanitized feelings. It was like someone took a sophisticated champagne cocktail and turned it into chocolate milk. The animation was classic Hanna-Barbera, which means Genie's mouth moved about as much as a ventriloquist dummy's, and every magical transformation was accompanied by the same sparkly sound effect they used in every other cartoon.
You know what I'm gonna do to you?
What is that, Master?
Yikes! Please, Genie, I'm gonna... Come back here!
Despite its promise, the animated Genie ran for just one season of 16 episodes in the fall of 1973, with reruns continuing through 1975. It never quite captured the charm of its live-action predecessor, maybe because Barbara Eden's charisma doesn't translate to Saturday morning cartoon form, or maybe because replacing an accomplished astronaut with a teenager whose biggest concern is his next surf competition fundamentally misunderstood what made the original work. The show remains a fascinating time capsule of 1970s children television, when networks thought they could slap bright colors and a moral lesson on everything and call it Saturday morning gold. Sometimes they were right. This was not one of those times. Number 3. There was a lot of ad-libbing. Larry Hagman had a reputation for, let's say, coloring outside the lines, sometimes literally. From day one, he was riffing on I Dream of Jeannie. That led to some professional tension. Sidney Sheldon wanted his actors to stick to the page, while Hagman was determined to play by his own rules, and he did. Hagman tossed in lines, gestures, and bits of physical comedy that weren't in the script. Co-star Bill Daly loved it. The two would plan little pieces of business to liven up static scenes, like having Daly rummage through a filing cabinet or shuffle papers during dialogue. Those touches gave their banter the loose, believable feel of real buddies caught in absurd situations. Barbara Eden admitted Hagman's surprises sometimes threw her off, but she called their chemistry magic.
Jeannie, I want to have a...
Oh, Master! Oh, I've been so unhappy. All I wish to do is please you.
Yeah, with what? A bed of nails and an iron door in front of my bedroom?
Oh, well, I did not want to do any of those things.
When he ad-libbed and caught her off guard, her real reactions ended up on screen, and that authenticity is part of what audiences connected with. Of course, it wasn't all fun for the crew. On a 1960s sitcom schedule, shoot fast, stay on script, move on, Hagman's improvising could be maddening. Sheldon thought it slowed everything down. Hagman thought it was the only way to keep Major Nelson from becoming a cardboard straight man. That creative tug-of-war lasted the entire run, and in the end, Sheldon got his scripts, Hagman got his laughs, and the audience got a Tony Nelson who felt like a real guy trapped in a completely unreal situation. Not bad for a bunch of ad-libs that were never supposed to happen. Number 2, the shared neighborhood. You ever feel like Major Nelson and Dr. Bellows were living a little too close to Samantha and Darren Stevens? That's because they were. Their houses weren't just neighbors in spirit, they literally sat side by side on Blondie Street at the Columbia Ranch backlot in Burbank. The same house structure doubled as the Bellows place on Genie and the Stevens suburban dream home on Bewitched. The only thing standing between paranoid psychiatrist and twitchy witch was a few paint jobs, some swapped shutters, and a new set of lawn furniture. The Stevens house got cozy New England charm for Bewitched, while the same structure became manicured California modern for the Bellows family on Genie. That's not TV magic, it's a very tired set dressing crew working overtime. And Blondie Street wasn't just a Genie and witch cul-de-sac. Throughout the 60s, 70s, and beyond, it showed up in the Waltons, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and yeah, the Friends Fountain was right around the corner. If you've ever done a Warner Brothers tour, you've basically walked through Genie's neighborhood without even realizing it. But in 2023, it all got bulldozed for shiny new sound stages. fans were crushed. A whole chunk of sitcom heaven gone. For anyone who grew up with Barbara Eden winking or Elizabeth Montgomery nose twitching, it felt like Hollywood paved over our childhood. Turns out the only real magic trick was convincing viewers that one street in Burbank could be half of America's suburbs. Number 1. Genie's evil twin was born out of a sitcom rivalry. Nothing screams 1960s television like dueling magical blondes. I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched were both Screen Gems productions, both centered on a gorgeous woman with supernatural powers and both constantly compared to each other. Even if Barbara Eden and Elizabeth Montgomery were cordial colleagues on the lot, the studio leaned hard into the rivalry. Enter Genie's evil brunette sister, Genie 2.
Yes, Master Poopsie, what is it this time?
Genie, do you not recognize me? It is your sister, Genie!
Oh, well, careful, darling. My hair.
Played, of course, by Eden herself, the character was clearly designed to echo bewitched, mischievous cousin Serena, also played by Montgomery. But where Serena was a free-spirited troublemaker, Genie 2 was straight-up malicious, conniving, jealous, and constantly trying to steal Major Nelson away from her sister. It was the evil twin trope turned up to 11. Writer James S. Henderson, a prolific Screen Gems regular who also penned episodes of Bewitched and The Flying Nun, created the character as part of the studio's push to keep pace with its own hit shows. Genie 2 appeared in multiple episodes throughout the series, giving Eden the chance to play sweet and sultry, innocent and devious, all in the same 25-minute sitcom. Fans ate it up. Suddenly, the witch versus genie arms race wasn't just about who had the wackier relatives, it was about which show had the better evil twin. And for many, Genie 2's scheming edge made her the clear winner. 2 genies for the price of 1? Well, that's not just a sitcom twist, that's Screen Gems knowing exactly how to squeeze every drop of magic out of its star. And there you have it, 15 weird facts that prove I Dream of Jeannie was just as wild behind the scenes as it was on screen. Which fact surprised you the most, and which one did we miss? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this trip back in time, give the video a thumbs up, click subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next road trip down memory lane. And until next time, this is Remember When.